Have you ever felt a sudden chill when entering a room, or known who is calling before checking your phone? These aren't just coincidences. They could be signs of your untapped psychic potential. What if understanding your body's energy centers, you could unlock abilities you never knew you had? Are you ready to discover the hidden connections between your chakras and intuitive powers? You're listening to or watching the Sedona Soul Sisters show, where we share psychic guidance and healing for embodied spiritual awakening. I'm Christel Arcucci, and I'm on a mission to support spiritual practitioners to access your intuition, unlock your psychic gifts, and live your purpose. A big thanks to our listeners all over the world, and a special shout out and a boost of love to our listeners in Lisbon, Portugal. You can schedule sessions in West Sedona or virtual psychic readings, angel readings, starseed readings, Akashic recode, hypnosis, soul contract work, Reiki, life coaching, and more at SedonaSoulSisters.com. Each breath you take aligned with love repairs the healing web on planet Earth. Take a deeper breath and place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Feel the movement of your breath moving in and out of your body. As you exhale, imagine a brilliant light flowing through your body, awakening each of your chakras from root to crown. With this energy circulating within you, set your intention to open yourself to the wisdom of your intuition and your hidden psychic abilities that lie dormant within you. Welcome to a transformative journey through the realms of psychic abilities and energy centers. And I have to say, this is a pretty massive undertaking for me to not only teach about all of the clairs, but to connect them into the 7 chakras is a lot to do in about a 25 to 30 minute podcast episode. I'm considering doing one episode for each of the clairs and going forward. If you'd like for me to do that, drop me a line and let me know. As I mentioned, today's episode explores the fascinating world of what are called the clairs, Clairs. These intuitive senses that go beyond our everyday perception and how they intimately connect into our chakra system. By understanding this powerful relationship, you'll gain insights into your own untapped potential and learn practical ways to enhance your intuition. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just beginning to explore your psychic gifts, this episode offers something for everyone. You'll discover how to recognize and nurture your natural abilities, balance your energy centers, and ultimately lead a more intuitive, empowered life. So let's begin and unravel the mysteries of the clairs and the chakras, providing you with tools to unlock your inner wisdom and navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. If you'd like to revisit the full episode that I did on the chakras recently, that was episode 155 of the Sedona Soul Sisters show. Let's begin this episode by first talking about the top 10 psychic abilities often referred to as clairs, and then we'll go into how the clairs connect into the chakras. There are many ways of going about this. I am presenting the information as I feel it most resonates, but these are not hard and fast rules. They are just building connections for you to come into a greater depth of understanding and experience of what I call embodied intuition and your soul's psychic gifts. Clairvoyance is the one that is probably the most often talked about. Clairvoyance is the ability to perceive events, objects, or people that are not physically present or visible through extrasensory perception. Clairaudience, the ability to hear sounds, voices, or words that are not physically present or audible to others. Clairsentience, the ability to sense or feel the emotions, physical sensations, or energies of other people, places, or objects. Claircognizance, the ability to acquire knowledge or information through extrasensory means without the use of the 5 physical senses. Clairaudience, the ability to smell odors or fragrances that are not physically present or detectable to others. Clairgustance is the ability to taste flavors or substances that are not physically present or consumable. Clairempathy, the ability to understand and feel the emotions, feelings, or experiences of others. Clairvoyant psychometry, the ability to receive information or impressions about an object or person by touching or holding them. Clairvoyant mediumship, often simply called mediumship, the ability to communicate with spirits or entities from other realms or dimensions. Clairvoyant precognition, the ability to perceive or foresee future events or circumstances through extrasensory perception. So these are often referred to as clairs because they relate to the various senses or ways of perceiving information beyond the physical senses. In working with so many clients and students, I find so often that people are really drawn to, they really want certain psychic or intuitive abilities. After listening to that list, I invite you to close your eyes and turn your attention inside for us to explore which ones you feel the greatest pull to, and then we'll go into which ones may already be available to you that you may be discounting. Because that is the truth of my experience of working with so many clients and students over many decades, is there's so often this, I really want to have this psychic ability, but never mind that I have clairaudience or clairempathy or whatever. Like the ones that come the most naturally to us can often be the ones we most discount. What I want you to do in closing your eyes and deepening your breath is feeling the one that you want to have the most. Or it may be several. Then pull yourself back into your body with a deeper breath. And then ask your deeper wisdom, which clair or clairs do I already have that I may not be valuing or cultivating? This is an opportunity to go deeper, to recognize your gifts, to cultivate the ones that come easily, and then to go deeper into the ones that are interesting to you. Let's transition now into connecting the chakras and the clairs. Because sharing all of this information about the different clairs and what they are can put us into only our heads, which can disconnect us from the heart and the body. And my work is about embodied intuition, living your purpose, embodying your legacy, which means integrating mind, heart, and body. So one of the things that I love about connecting the chakras and the clairs are it supports you in coming into a more embodied and physical experience of your psychic gifts and intuitive abilities. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this is not the only way to connect them. This is the way that seems the most obvious and intuitive to me. It is not a hard and fast rule. It is an invitation and a place to start and to hold with curiosity and see if that is your experience. Before we step into the integration of how these clairs and psychic gifts and intuitive abilities integrate into the chakras, an invitation to remember is that everything we are perceiving goes through our own personal filter, lens, our own life experience. And so it's really important to remember that when you are building your skills, is that your humanness can get in the way because your mind or your emotions can hijack you into thinking that you're getting psychic information when you're just making judgments about the other person. It's really important to cultivate your ability to verify information and to know that intuitive and psychic wisdom in general is very calm, clear, confident, often quiet. If something is coming through in a way that is acting like it's an emergency, or that this is right and this person absolutely has to listen to you and has to take your information, that is most likely not a clear channel. If you are early on in your practice, it's really important to notice what things are emotionally charged for you, and to know that most information that is coming through will not be emotionally charged. But sometimes your humanness can come through. Like, there have been times when I have shared information with a client that was psychic information that really moved me. And so in a way it was emotional, but it wasn't my emotions clouding my ability to share the information. There was an emotional charge for me because I'm human, but I could clearly see the difference between what the information is for the client and what is mine, and to keep them more separate. Like, the client may have heard the emotion in my voice, but I wasn't breaking down. It wasn't clouding my ability to communicate. That's really important in looking at how these psychic abilities are connecting into the chakras. That clear, confident, calm information that is shared. You feel it and know it in your body. And that's why embodied intuition is so important to cultivate in your own experience before you start sharing psychic information or guidance with others, so that you know the difference between what is perhaps an ego or some undesirable force using you as a channel to try to get this information to somebody. Grounding is so important in the root chakra, is for you to feel deeply physically connected into your own body, to understand how to make yourself more grounded, more like the mountain, more like the earth, ability to hold information, energy from the place of presence and power. Starting in the root chakra with clairsentience and clairvoyant psychometry. Clairsentience is the ability to see or feel physical sensations or energies of other places or objects. And clairvoyant psychometry is the ability to receive information about an object or a person by touching them or holding them. And so there's a level of connecting into the root, yet also clairvoyant psychometry could also easily be connected into the heart center. The second chakra, I have connected with emotional clairsentience. The second chakra relates to the element of water and intuition. So we're talking about now the emotional aspect of clairsentience, and that is feeling the emotions, energy of people, places, or objects. This one is also really important to be able to know the difference between your own emotions about information you are sharing and what information is actually the other person's, and not projections, assumptions, or judgments about the other person. Techniques for cultivating your ability in the second chakra is making sure you are well hydrated. Most people are chronically dehydrated. Also, movements that are circular and fluid, like a Tai Chi practice, a movement practice that is very fluid and moving and circular and flowing, and practices that I would call embodied emotional alchemy. Getting comfortable with intense emotional experiences will help you deepen your emotional clairsentience. Moving into the solar plexus relates to the fire element and claircognizance. It is the power center and intuitive knowing. This is about recognizing and trusting your gut feelings and how something feels in the core of your body. And claircognizance is cultivating your ability to acquire knowledge, information through extrasensory perception without using the physical five senses. One of the practices that I love for the solar plexus that I had a client doing just the other day during a hypnosis session is the sound ha. and then moving it into a literal laughter practice. So the way you would do this practice, place your hand on your solar plexus and start by creating the sound ha, 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 ha. Sometimes people will automatically go into a laughter practice, and sometimes you have to just start laughing to get that movement and that physical energetic movement in the solar plexus to awaken that inner solar fire. The heart chakra relates the most obviously to clairempathy. The heart chakra is the center of love, connection, compassion. Clairempathy and emotional healing is the ability to deeply understand and feel the emotions, feelings, and experiences of others. Again, it's important in your own practice to have really clear and healthy boundaries with your own emotions and with other humans in your life, but also with clients if you're working with them, that you know what is yours and what is information that you are receiving for the client. That again, it's not assumptions, judgments, or clouded by our own personal glasses that we're looking through because our own life experiences, that it's deeply listening for the guidance that is truly for the other person. One thing I will add in here, because I've mentioned it in several of them, is if you are cultivating your ability to work with others or you're already working with clients, I find an incredibly powerful skill is to ask 3 times, is this for the client? And then if you get 3 yeses for that, is this important that I share now? I made those 2 mistakes very early on in my career. As I've mentioned many times, I was developing my psychic gifts without any teachers, partly because my psychic gifts were opening when I was a child and I didn't have human teachers. But then even in my early hands-on healing career, I didn't have teachers that were teaching me about intuitive gifts or psychic skills or any of these things. So a lot of it I learned by making mistakes, which is why I want to share them with you so you can avoid them. Is this for the client? And listening, feeling, sensing, whichever gifts are most available for you, if that answer is yes. And is this important that I share now? Because especially early on in my hands-on career, I would get information for clients. So I was in a client session and I would get information for a client, and it wasn't important that I shared it. And that's when I started cultivating these questions as safeguards, that my guides were showing me, giving me information that was important for me to know, but it wasn't something I needed to say to the client. And that is very important. Practices to enhance your clairempathy. So here's the thing about clairempathy. The most important thing with clairempathy, if it is a skill for you, is actually learning to have boundaries with your clairempathy, and also to cultivate what I call ecstatic empathy, which I did a whole episode on recently, because often those of us that are empaths and have clairempathy as a natural gift, our gift gets fine-tuned for looking at the pain body, because often we grew up in an environment that was important. That can be helpful. Yes, absolutely. Having healthy boundaries of when you're turning your clairempathy on to be open to receiving that information about other people, like going to the market and having that on is going to overwhelm you and make you not want to go to the market or to a concert or to any place where there's a lot of people. Being able to be like, right now, I am sharing my heart energy. I am bringing love and healing to the space that I'm in, but at this point, I'm not receiving energy in. You are allowed to do that. I encourage you to learn to do that and to practice it regularly so that you are not constantly being overwhelmed by information that is not useful to you, is not helpful to you, is not helpful to others. And cultivate ecstatic empathy. So that is cultivating the bliss body. So it isn't just that your clairempathy is only looking for the pain body, which again is useful. If it's on all the time, it just can be exhausting and overwhelming. So cultivating the ability to look for the good, the beauty, cultivating the bliss body with ecstatic empathy is also seeing that, cultivating that in your client work as well, or in your private practice. The throat chakra, I am connecting clairaudience, clairaudience, and clairgustance, which is hearing, taste, and smell. Obviously, the throat is the closest to those physical senses. Part of why I love connecting the clairs into the chakras is it supports you in recognizing the physical sensitivities you may have. Like, I am very sensitive to sound and smell, which sometimes can be incredibly annoying. But because I know that about my physical self, I also know that those gifts are already open on a physical level. So on a psychic level, they're very close as well. So I can cultivate a physical environment to support my human self in being able to receive that information and to cultivate what information is important for me to have and when to have clear boundaries and when to honor my sensitivity. In working with the throat chakra and the senses of smell, taste, and hearing, part of that is looking at those physical senses and clearing them, cultivating them as much as possible. And working with mindfulness practices like eating, if you are interested in cultivating the psychic sense of taste and smell, an important way to cultivate that is with food. When you're preparing food or when you're out at a restaurant, is making an active practice of tuning in to what you're presented with. If you walk into a store that has different face creams and bath products and that kind of thing, is not only tuning into the physical smell, but cultivating your psychic sense of smell through practice. Cultivate that ability in your everyday life. The third eye chakra and clairvoyance. Inner vision. So clairvoyance is the ability to perceive objects, events, and people that are not physically present or visible through extrasensory perception. So seeing auras fits into this, or seeing someone, a departed loved one in a room, or seeing scenes. There can be places that also hold impressions that you can tune into as clairvoyance. So often the third eye chakra is just spoken about as the third eye in the center of the forehead, just above the eyebrows. And it's spoken about only as a eye on the front of your head. When you utilize the third eye as a channel going entirely through your head that opens in the front and the back and goes entirely through, that in itself can open your clairvoyance in incredible ways, just by cultivating that in environments that you want to receive more psychic information or insights. The crown chakra, higher intuition. I have connected mediumship and clairvoyant precognition into this center. Mediumship is the ability to communicate with spirits or entities in other realms or dimensions. And clairvoyant precognition is the ability to perceive or foresee future events or circumstances through extrasensory perception. I don't actively cultivate my mediumship skills. It's one of those things, again, I'm like, not so much. Thank you very much. And that's just a personal thing. It is a beautiful practice. It's just something that I have had very clear boundaries. I do receive messages from people's passed on loved ones during sessions, and I will share them with the proper protocol and all of those things with permission. But in general, for me, it's not something that I have wanted to cultivate. The crown or the third eye, you get to decide which one resonates. For me, it resonates more in working with it as the crown chakra. What I will say about clairvoyant precognition, because I would say that is one of my stronger psychic abilities, yet I've cultivated in a very specific way. So a lot of the psychic work I do is about timeline healing and supporting people and putting their energy and attention onto the timeline of what they most desire. Yes, I can see what is most likely to happen, and in general, I'm not interested in that unless it's like the most amazing next 6 months of their life, which most people are not on that timeline. My clairvoyant precognition is about what is possible for that person and how to clear the pathway for that person to have more of that experience. Like any of these gifts, there are many ways to use the clairs, many ways to work with them. And part of the reason I put mediumship and precognition in the crown is because when working with the crown chakra, it is so important that you are activating all of the centers, in my opinion, and especially the root, that you are profoundly grounded in your physical body when you are opening the channel to other energies, other spirits speaking through you, and seeing the possible futures, because those can be incredibly challenging energies to hold, which is why I work with them in the crown chakra. And that being that you're activating all 7 centers, opening the crown with clarity, with clear boundaries for what information you are wanting to receive. This was a lot, and I hope it was helpful. In wrapping up this episode, I have self-inquiry questions. Which of the Clair abilities do you feel most drawn to or experience most often in your daily life? And how does this relate to your dominant chakras? Which Clair do you feel most disconnected from? And which chakra have I related it to here? How do you currently nurture your psychic abilities or intuition in your daily routine? And which practices could you introduce to support your less developed clairs? What practices could you include to develop your most developed clairs? Thank you for being a part of our community. I'm honored to support your embodied spiritual awakening. Are you ready for a personalized rites of passage in Sedona with me? The Rites of Passage is an extraordinary 2-day private retreat in Sedona designed to support your embodied spiritual awakening. If you're passionate about awakening the divine within and ready to embody your legacy, step into leadership, and live your purpose, this in-person immersion is for you. Schedule your life-changing immersion in Sedona at sedonasoulsisters.com/purpose. Leave a review and follow on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, breathe gently, listen to your guidance, and create miracles.